Resilience. Today, I want to talk to you about resilience, how it is the secret sauce of all life, and how you can build it in yourself. You know, resilience comes from adversity. It comes from bad experiences. But it doesn't always have to. And it's my hope that, broadly, society will develop resilience in more people without having them have to suffer the extreme sadness that we usually think of when we think resilience. Now, I want to share with you a story about something that my elderly neighbor said about a friend of mine who lived up the way from him. He said that one of my friends was wise beyond her years, and that she would have to grow up a little faster than everyone else. And it might sound great to be so wise, but there's a huge burden to this. Because what my neighbor was really touching on is the fact that life happens to some of us, and it happens a little more and a little earlier than it was meant to. And when adversity happens in children, it can force them to grow up before their time. And it's due to factors in our environment. And there exists an endless stream of these factors that I group into circumstance and support that lead us to where we are today. And I pick circumstance and support, or the lack thereof, because they're two of the three dimensions that really make us who we are. They make up our identity. But both are environmental, and both are outside of our control. Luckily, there exists a third factor that we can do a lot about, and this is resilience. Now, before I go on talking about resilience and what I think it is and how I think you can build it in yourself, I want you to think about how resilience plays into the following 4 scenarios. This kid, he lives in a big city, and his parents are quite well off, so he has access to any activity his heart desires. He has all the circumstance and support to become successful. He can do whatever he wants. But how does he deal with adversity in his life? This little girl, my friend who lived up the way from me, you know, she has to grow up before her time because her parents are busy dealing with their own adversity. So she has to look after her siblings. And what does that do to her? You know, that poor circumstance and lack of support. How does she build resilience? This boy, a math prodigy, but with no academic or personal supports to lead him on his way. He never gets to reach his full potential because the necessary supports for him to succeed are just not there. And finally, this girl. She has a heart defect, but she goes on to become a doctor when she gets older. However, she never gets to compete competitively in the sports that she loves because of her heart. She ends up successful, she ends up where she wants to be in life, but she always wonders, what could she have achieved athletically had the circumstance in her life been different? Now, I had something similar like this happen to me. So, resilience and support support and circumstance build into our resilience. They're both environmental, and we respond to them, right? We respond to our environment. But you can't stop living your life when something adverse happens to you, right? You have to keep going. And that's exactly what I had to do. Because when I was 9, I had a stroke that resulted in complete paralysis of my dominant left side. I couldn't walk, I couldn't talk, I couldn't take care of myself. And every now and then, someone will notice my disability. They'll see my hand spasm, they'll see the weakness that I have on this side, or they'll notice the leg brace that I usually wear. And they'll say to me, "Hey, what happened to you? Did you hurt your leg?" And I'll end up telling them my story. And they'll say to me, "Wow, that's really amazing." But I'll assure them, you know, just because that happened to me, that's not the only thing that I'm doing. Because now I'm biking, snowboarding, attending university, and supporting myself. Although I think my parents might disagree a little bit on that last one. But what can I do? I'm a student. So, from day one in my hospital bed, it wasn't like I was seeking to build resilience, right? I was just a kid who didn't like where I was, didn't like the way that I was feeling, and really didn't want to miss out on life, because even though I was 9, I knew there was life out there, and whatever it was, I wanted a piece of it. So it was just as simple as not wanting to miss out on that life. Resiliency is a thing you don't know you have until you need it. So I've gotten pretty good at holding my tells in, but it takes a lot of effort. Have any of you noticed my disability since I've been up here? You probably have, since I've said it, because it's there. It takes a lot of my time to think about it, and I should have my mind completely focused on giving this talk, or even being nervous for giving this talk, right? But instead, I have to devote a portion of my cognition to my disability and to my movement. And I want you to know that every single person that you see on the street with a disability is doing the same thing. You know, they really feel like they can make it. They feel like if they just keep going, they will get there, because they have this passion and this inspiration, right? Some people will say to me, "Man, Sydney, you're an inspiration." And it's really hard for me to identify with that, because that's not what I see. I'm just a person who's trying to live life, and I think we all are, right? So, yeah, these people are out there in the world, and they're really inspiring. They're much more inspiring than me. But I want you to know that they're putting in the effort on par with an Olympic athlete to be where they are. But do you see that? Do you see that effort in them? No, I don't think we do. It's really easy in the society that we live in to judge each other. With social media, we can portray any story we want to the world, whether it's true or not. But we also pick on these tiny flaws that mean nothing in each other. We judge someone online so harshly if they, even misplace an apostrophe. And what does that mean? It means nothing. So instead of trying to bring value to yourself by finding the flaws in others, I implore you, please try and see the resilience in them instead. Now, before I go on, I just want to touch on the fact that adversity is hard, and having a disability is hard because it steals some things from you. But it also gives you the opportunity to strengthen others, and it doesn't give them to you. You have to fight for it with every ounce of your resilience that you have, because that's life, right? So just remember that when you're out there in the world, to give each other grace. And while you're giving grace, save some for yourself, right? When something happens to you, it takes a long time for you to stop comparing your old body to your new body, and your new body to everyone else's bodies out there. But when you can give yourself grace, you stop suffering. Because suffering is this gap between the world you have and the world you want. But it's really a wedge between you and your life. And living with illness and adversity is just adapting to that illness and adversity, because that's just life, dealing with what we can't control and the unknown. And the unknown is scary, but it is only scary until you do it. It only seems impossible until you take that first step. So how do you deal with it when things go wrong? Well, you don't run from it. You don't run from the adversity. All you can do is try and close that wedge, that gap. Resiliency is knowing that there's unknowns out there and being scared and running forward to full steam ahead anyway. It will be hard. It will be the hardest thing you will ever have to do in your life, but I promise you the next time it will not be. Because now when I am faced with illness or with adversity, I know I'm not broken. Because I know I've survived worse, I know I can get up again. My resiliency confirms it for me. So in closing, I just want to say that no amount of positivity on its own is enough to get you through a hard time. It will be hard. It will take a lot of hard work. You will have to give it your all and be brave. But doing so is a test of your character, because adversity is a chance to stretch yourself, to become better. And it's not about the victory at the end of the line. It's not about the day where I won't get up on stage and have spasticity when I'm giving my talk. It's about getting knocked down and getting up again and again, continuously just inching closer to whatever that goal is at the end of the line. I'm still trying to do this. I'm still trying to test my character. And today I take on the challenge of sharing my story with you. But I also do something that really scares me. I'm giving this TED Talk. Thank you.